Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the RSI Apollo, of which there are two variants. We have the Apollo Triage in red, and then we have the Apollo Medivac in this whitewash sort of grey white colour. There are some differences between the two. The Medivac has slightly more armour and a different weapon system. Other than that, they share the same components and you'll still get exactly the same sort of compatibility. Now, if you enjoy medical gameplay, then this might be a ship to consider in the future. It will have some interesting features, and the design layout is also quite interesting, and the ability to mix and match the medical beds that you equip with this ship is also going to add some flexibility to the role of the Apollos in and around the verse. The legendary Apollo chassis from Robert Space Industries is the gold standard in medevac and rapid emergency response, having provided critical aid to the known universe for well over 2 centuries. When one thinks of first-class medical rescue, one thinks of the RSI Apollo. The Apollo gets in and out with speed and efficiency required for successful rescue, medevac and mixed emergency operations. The easy access rear ramp deploys in seconds for effortless patient transfer, no matter how dire the circumstances. With a separate lift giving the crew quarantine cockpit access, responsive VTOL thrusters and the latest medical technology, the Apollo is built for patients, pilots and practitioners alike. Medilift drone support. New for 2948 are patented Shepherd Medilift extraction drones are changing the face of rescue operations throughout and beyond the UEE. Utilising a cutting-edge combination of thruster and tractor beam tech, each Medilift pod safely delivers critical patients to the ship when landing isn't an option. Offering unparalleled mobility and comfort for passengers and crew, shock balance strut technology ensures a stable ride under extreme fire and turbulence. Payload preservation armour, safeguarding patients from enemy fire and natural hazards using cutting-edge shield tech. PPA assures the safety of everything within the confines of the Medilift drone. The Apollo comes equipped with 2 Shepherd Medilift semi-automated emergency extraction pods, capable of moving up to 500 pounds quickly and securely from the incident to the ship. These pods are outfitted with PPA and shock balancing technology to ensure patient safety throughout mobilization. The innovative modular layout of the Apollo's medical bays promote maximum efficiency and enable tailored support to suit all levels of projected severity. Patrol and general emergency response configurations are also supported. With high-spec VTOL thrusters, dual shield generators and RSI's patented shock balance system, the Apollo offers the smoothest ride in the universe, so your crew is free to practice with confidence and focus on what they do best. So the RSI Apollo does actually have some interesting tech, and what I do like is the fact that we can interchange these medical beds to different tiers. So we could have, for example, 6 tier 3 beds, which are the ones you'd find in like the Pisces and the Cutlass Red, or maybe just the 2 tier 1 beds that kind of fix everything that's broken with the patient, for example. So it's going to be interesting to see how we can tailor these ships to our needs. Another thing that drew me to this ship, which I didn't know about until recently, was these Medilifts. Now these are really cool. So these are drones that are going to deploy from the Apollo itself and be able to scoop people up from various areas of the verse. I think that would be super useful for maybe pilots that have ejected from their light fighters and things of that nature, maybe sustained some injuries. You can send this drone out and they should be retrieved intact. And I believe the payment system, because obviously being a medical career as well, you expect to get paid. It might be automated, or the person you're rescuing can give consent for that money, if they're still conscious, to be taken from their account, and then you can begin treating that individual. Now there are some things you might want to be aware of. I mean, the first thing I would do on any patient, and I try to in the game now with the Cutlass Red for example, is if that person's unconscious, then I'm taking their weapons, everything. They're getting looted so that nothing bad can happen. So that is something you need to think about. Now the ship is designed to hold a crew of 2. I think 3 would be ideal, and if one of you is trying to be a doctor or something of that nature, then maybe having 2 crew members might not be enough, because 1 doctor between 6 patients might be a little bit of a stretch. So I think you could get away with 3. However, there are only 2 beds, but I don't see that being an issue if you had your small team on rotation, for example. So the way the ship looks, though, I think it looks great. I have had my eye on this ship for quite some time. I picked up the Medivac variant, which is this one here. It's a little bit more armoured, it has a different weapon system, it has Gatlings instead of lasers, and it's a little bit slower because of the thicker armour. I'm not going to go and say that this is combat capable, because it certainly is not, but with the extra armour, you might be able to bring a Medivac to like a fleet battle, for example, take a little bit of damage, and maybe get into the more dangerous situations than you would the Triage, which I think is more of a civilian variant of that of this particular model of ship. So where does the Apollo fit in with the other medical ships that we have in game at the moment? Well, we have the medical Pisces, which I would liken to a sort of small response doctor's car in some respects. Then we have the Cutlass Red, which is kind of like an ambulance. And then we have the Apollos, which I think are really sort of flying clinics, similar to that of those that you would find in the space stations. Then we have the RSI Galaxy, which is a bigger ship, which does have a hospital or clinic module that you could fit into the back of the Galaxy. And then of course we have the Endeavour, which is the king of hospital treatment, it would seem, at the moment in game. So it fits in nicely in the middle. And I think that's perfect for anyone that's running a small org, even a medium org. Having 1 or 2 of these knocking around is certainly going to help you in your endeavours. And I think medical gameplay at the moment is still in its infancy, and when it grows, I think a lot of players are going to turn to medical gameplay a lot more, because although medical gameplay is great at the moment, I still think it needs a lot more work and a lot more fleshing out, and it's only going to improve. And I think by the time that we get the Apollo, medical gameplay will be in a better state, and a lot more enjoyment will come from, you know, doing your part to help humankind in and around the verse. Now, the other interesting thing, of course, apart from these drones, which look awesome, and I'm very much looking forward to using those in the future, is you could actually be a doctor, okay? And I believe CIG have said that it won't be a case of actually just shoving the patient on a medical bed and it'll be automatic. There will be some interactivity there. So the doctor will actually have to diagnose and treat certain injuries, wounds, and all of that gruesome stuff, and have the ability to heal and not just rely on the medical beds, which is really interesting. That adds into the ability to swap the beds around. So you could have 3 tier 3 beds one side and 1 tier 1 bed the other side, because we're going to be able to carry up to 6 patients, and as a doctor that's certainly going to be interesting, because that would allow us to triage our patients and place them in the appropriate beds. You know, if someone's unconscious, you're going to put them straight into a tier 1 bed because they can't speak and tell you what's wrong with them. If you've got a conscious patient who's maybe got a broken arm, maybe you put him in a tier 3 and stabilize him, and then move him into a tier 1 to fix that wound. So, you know, it opens up a whole new world of medical gameplay. And I think being a doctor on board an Apollo, or even the Medivac variant, a combat doctor is almost certainly going to be excellent. Imagine there's a battle going on, a fleet battle, a ground battle, 2 clans fighting over Jumptown or whatever it might be, and you're there to make that money and rescue troops on the ground as a combat doctor. That would be an amazing aspect to the game. Now, the Apollo does have some advantages over a Pisces and a Cutlass Red in terms of scanners. The Terrapin and Cutlass Red both have medium scanners, whereas the Apollo has a larger one. Like the Carrack and some of the other bigger ships, while they do have the same things and can be used for the same purposes, large scanners have a higher range spread and give more accurate detail. So locating wrecks, patients, and things of that nature is going to be a lot easier in an Apollo than it would be for a Cutlass Red or the Pisces. Some other cool features of the ship, of course, are the ability to have tier 1 beds. I mean, that's brilliant. That is the same healing potential as the Endeavour and the Galaxy and all the other larger ships that have these bigger, more appropriate medical bays. So we can heal things probably easier, heal people easier, because we're faster, we're a smaller profile, we can carry 6 patients. And what else is actually really good about this ship? Now, people you're rescuing that are not in your friend's party, cannot respawn on your ship, which is a good thing because you don't want any riffraff, right? But your friends that are in your party will have an option to lay on those beds and use it as a spawn point, which I think is excellent. So if for whatever reason you send someone down to rescue someone and you're waiting 10 minutes and you don't have any comms from your friend and you assume they have been KIA, at least they have the ability to spawn on your Apollo, which also has 28 SCU, so you'll have plenty of space there for a crew of 3 at least, for your medical supplies. Don't forget your supplies for your patients, some weapons, because you might get a patient who refuses to leave and turns pirate. You're going to want to force them off the ship by probably putting a bullet in their head and then not resin them if that's the kind of player they want to be. So there's a lot of options available in the Apollo that some of the other ships of this sort of size do not offer. In terms of components, the Apollo is equipped with the following: a size 3 radar, a size 2 computer, 2 of those, 2 size 3 coolers, 1 size 3 power plant, and 2 size 2 medium shield generators, which is pretty impressive. The size is 43 meters in length, it has a width of 30 meters and a height of 10 meters, and it says crew 1 to 2, but I think 3 is probably the way to go. When the Apollo launches, it will also have a size 2 quantum drive, a size 2 jump drive module. It will have 2 size 2 fuel intakes. Its fuel tank will be a size 2, which is important, range to get to and from patients. And its quantum fuel tank will be a size 2 also. So they are some respectable components to be found on board a stock Apollo. So the Apollo is certainly an interesting ship. It has some excellent features. It's interesting. The drones make for good times. The fact that we can have a doctor triaging up to 6 patients. The ability to swap the medical beds around to suit your particular needs. It all looks very good on paper, not to mention the components seem very, very good. And when you're transporting your patients to and from the hospitals, or even to another hospital ship such as the Galaxy and or Endeavour, then the Apollo might be something you're interested in if you wanted to hunker down on the medical side of gameplay in and around the verse. And the fact that this ship has large scanners is certainly going to help you in those search and rescue missions. Who knows what you might find out there, but those large scanners are almost certainly going to help. Because at the end of the day, we want to heal people and we would like to make money at the same time. And I really do feel the Apollo will be a very good ship for anybody who wants to get into medical gameplay. Maybe become a doctor. Small org, medium org, large orgs, this ship will be perfect for any of those. So there we go, guys. That was my video on the RSI Apollo. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what buttons to press, and I of course will have more Star Citizen content en route to your location very soon. Take care. Cheers.